Drew, you're from USC?
Yes, sir. I went to USC, graduated in 2008 from the cinema television production program. And Lizzie's actually a graduate from USC as well.
There's
Yes.
three of us in the room.
Hey,
Oh, wow.
fight on.
Yeah, I was in cinema and television. Jack Shepard was my instructor.
Okay. Yeah. It's
do they still
quite
do
a
the
good
soap
program.
opera?
You know, I didn't have that experience, but that sounds fantastic. I wish they did.
I think it's one of the longest running soap operas ever is on SC television.
You know, I just may not have been privileged to be a part of it. It sounds fun though.
Well, Lizzie, going to college is great, but everything changes when you walk onto a set, and you're getting paid for the very first time.
Yes.
Tell me a bit about the difference between, college and real life.
Yeah. Well, this definitely wasn't my first time being on set and getting paid for the first time. But I would say that it was the first time that I felt like a very integral part of the filmmaking process.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different to be on a big TV set where you're just coming in for the day or for the week. And we had a full month to shoot and developed quite a wonderful rapport. Drew and I had a great, way of working together and developed a shorthand that I think we used a lot. And my co-star, Michael, he and Drew are very close as well. So we just became this very tight-knit cast and crew, and it was wonderful, a wonderful thing to feel like that part of the production.
Drew, does being in front of the camera, being an actor, help you with that shorthand in empathizing with your cast?
I haven't been on camera in a long time, but I do feel like there is a part of my experience and my background, having done some theater when I was at Sonoma State University before I actually transferred to SC, that enabled me to be able to talk to my actors and focus on my actors in a way that I feel like maybe is getting lost a little bit in cinema these days, that a lot of directors are more focused on the image and less focused on what I view as the main job of a director, which is to work with the actors and make sure that the performances that are coming across are exactly what you want them to be.
One of the things about Fox Hunt Drive, there's a couple of things I want to bring up in our conversation, but the first thing is I notice a very, very much an homage, if you will, a slight homage to Hitchcock in this.
Thank you.
Is that on purpose?
Of course it's on purpose. I fell in love with Hitchcock's masterworks while I was at USC, and have always admired him and have tried to keep up and study his work, as I've done my own filmmaking work. And of course, there's the story aspects that we worked in there, just in terms of the building suspense and really some of the character work that we did as well. But there's the more obvious things that we did too, which is we have that Hitchcock push-pull in there near the end of the film, and so using some of those techniques and stuff like that is just I feel like was a very nice way to nod to someone who I look at as a mentor, arms distance mentor.
Lizzie, is there a difference in how you approach, let's say, comedy and suspense and drama?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like every role, every script that you take on, has a specific and different tone. So for this one in particular, I just wanted to go very grounded, very realistic. The camera, for a lot of the film, it's just the two of us. Mm-hmm. So it's actually a lot of dialogue, which isn't always common in, all of the projects that I've done. So just being very real and grounded and connected to what we were saying, what I was saying, what I what I wanted in the moment, what I was allowing to be shown to the other characters in the scene at that moment, versus maybe what I was trying to do in my mind behind what I was letting everybody see.
Over the last little bit, we've seen a couple of really very interesting, I want to call them, road movies, where you're in a car. Unhinged comes to mind with Russell Crowe. Is there a certain kind of claustrophobia that sets in when you're shooting? As small as the cameras are now, does that still happen? I mean,
Yeah.
I imagine you're in a car for like 6 hours at a time, in some cases.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Drew. We spent a week in the car, right?
Yeah. I think it was 5 days total.
Yeah, like almost a full week of shooting in the car. By the time we moved on to another scene that was outside of the car, I almost forgot how to act with my body. Like I forgot that I had legs. But for a lot of it, Drew and the rest of the crew, the script supervisor and everybody, they were up on the big rig. I don't know what you call it, Drew, but process trailer. Yeah. So I was in the car and they were very far away, and Drew was communicating with us through walkie-talkie over the radio. And we got so used to it. It was like he was in the car with us. And then of course, when we had the scenes that were much closer up onto our faces, then we got the cinematographer hovering outside. We had the camera operator in the car with us. We all worked together so well, and we were all so comfortable with each other that it wasn't an issue.
Just to speak to the tightness in the car, I think there were, I vividly recall a few moments where we were trying to get very complicated shots, and we had our camera operator in the car with Lizzie, with Michael, and our focus puller all at the same time. I don't know how they all fit in there, but They did just an amazing job. That the actors, like, obviously keeping the character the whole time, and then also the technicians just doing their job and making it look wonderful.
You can't always, because of eye lines of the camera, you can't always act in a closed space like that directly with your partner. So there were instances where Michael or I had to squeeze into the back seat and be as close to the camera as possible, and still be connected as scene partners. But ultimately, you're not looking directly at them. So it's very interesting the ways you have to juggle and stay grounded in what you're trying to do.
Well, I imagine that your director of cinematography, would also be going nuts, because to me, I would think there's only like 4 shots you can do in a car, and you have to make every shot look different and feel different, and and not just shoot through a steering wheel and not just shoot through a back seat. It seemed to me like there was like 60 or 70 different types of focusing that had to be done.
There was a lot of work that Anthony did. He really tried to make the camera another character in this picture, which was, I think for a movie that takes place for the most part in a car, is very difficult to do. It just becomes one of those things where, Anthony's vision and working with me and us trying to figure out a way to make all of these shots and play as we go through the picture. And really, as the picture continues and as we build that suspense, we get closer and closer and closer to these characters. And just, I wouldn't have wanted to shoot this film with any other director of photography. He came in and he made the whole thing work in ways that, I can't even explain, because he was a partner on this project, and it was fantastic.
Another thing that I noticed too was you're a fan of the slow build, and it really shows, because I am too. I think we live in an instant age where, people react, even the jokes that are in comedies, they're punchline, set up punchline. And it just is so rapid fire, but I enjoy a movie that opens slowly and comes to a boil. So my question is for Drew, was that all on the in the script that way? And then for Lizzie, how as an actress, I mean, do you slowly build like that?
So it was in the script. We effectively shot the script as it was written. There were, of course, some small changes along the way, but I think it was a testament to the writers in terms of how they were able to keep the little pieces, the little details, coming from these characters as we learn more and more about them, in order to keep that build interesting, right? Because it's just two characters in a car. It could get boring very easily. So I think that it's a testament to them. And then for working with Lizzie and Michael in terms of what I was trying to do with the build of the film, obviously, as we talked about, taking a little bit from Hitchcock's work, but really trying to show these characters on screen bit by bit, and you peel back that onion as you learn more and more about them. So it was and obviously it's always a collaboration. So Lizzie can speak to the acting piece to it, but it was really one of those things where I was just trying to manage everything in my head, how the build would appear and on screen, like when in the final cut version, but then also the performances and being true to the writing. So it was just a lot of things juggling to make that build work. And so I'm so appreciative that you like it, Tony, because we did do a lot of work to make it fascinating.
Yeah.
Lizzie?
Yeah, and I would say that it's I think the build is supported by a script that has that built in, and as an actor, that's all you can really ask for, is to be supported by the script that's under you. But also, Drew and I would have a little check-in before we did every scene, especially shooting. We shot some of it in order, but definitely out of order for some of the in the car versus out of car. We had to check in every scene and say, okay, where are we now? Where is my character, and what does she want to be showing? And we had to consider the audience too, and think, what do we need the audience to be seeing right now? And actually looking at it from that perspective really helped, I feel like, shape the story. And for anybody who has seen the full film, I would say that everyone would agree that the way that the film ends is very different than how it begins. And I'll just say that much, but I think that's a testament to both writing and to Drew and the crew for, really shaping that.
As a director, writer, first of all, is writing a lonely job for you, or do you bounce things off of people? I know writers that do both. So what is your technique?
So for me, writing has never been something that I feel like was one of my stronger suits. But when I try and be as active in the development process as I possibly can be. When I have to write, I do write, but most of the time I prefer to work with, collaborate with people like Adam Armstrong and Marcus DeVivo, who wrote the script for this. And so I really do like to bounce ideas off of them. And, Adam and I are working on a project right now that we're having a first draft written for us of a script. And, we text all the time just with new ideas, or, hey, I was thinking about this. What do you think about this? And it's this ever evolving conversation when it comes to us getting a story down on paper, because we want to make sure that we're covering all the angles, right? Like we want for people, when the picture is made, we want them to be watching it and enjoying every single beat, right? We don't want to take them out of the picture. We want them to be there for the whole thing. And I think that that's really where, when I end up collaborating on writing, that's what I really look at is trying to make sure that we're thinking about the audience, and we're also thinking about the story and the characters.
Yeah, I'm from that same school of every frame has to have a meaning, and it links every other frame together. And if you have something that doesn't jive well, it just takes everybody out of the moment. And
Yep.
and how many movies have done that? And this one seems to be really. It's a really thoughtful film, in the way that it's presented too. I mean, I haven't seen any missed notes, so
Thank
to
you,
speak.
Tony.
And
Thank
I
you.
think that's great, especially for a project that, it doesn't have the huge budgets
Mhm.
and I think you did this film basically on the catering of an Avengers film, that budget for catering. So
Right. Yeah, we probably maybe even less. I don't
maybe
know,
less.
but I think that especially for indie pictures, and this being my directorial debut, it was really important to me that we just put everything on the table, right? Because we never know if we're ever going to get it to shoot another one. And so it was what I kept telling myself, when we ran into problems in pre-production, or when I was sitting there, working on the VFX and post, it was one of those things where I was like, you know what, I'm willing to put the time in, because what if this is the only movie that I'll ever be able to make, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that that's where you make up for, I think people make up for that lack of budget that indie films might have, is what they bring to the table, their talent, their passion, right? And I think that this film was made by not just myself, not Lizzie, not Michael, not the writers. Like, everyone was a passionate person.
Yeah, and it's a group effort. Lizzie, are you going to step behind the camera?
I hadn't ever thought about it until recently. At
Do
this
it.
point,
Do it.
Do it.
I wish I had gone to film school at this point instead of theater school. I was too, obsessed or thinking about being in front of the camera. But I feel like my appreciation for film and good film and storytelling has grown so much in the last couple of years. And then being able to work on a project like this one, I'm inspired. I will continue to think if I will let myself dabble in that, but it's definitely something I'm thinking about.
Tony, I've gotten texts from both Michael and Lizzie being like, all right, so the next project, we're all producing it together, right?
Wow.
And it's great to see that. I think it's a testament, like I was saying, to the passionate crew that we had on set, that you would have your two stars who from everything that I know had an amazing time starring in this picture. But then also saying, like, look at how much fun everyone else is having on the set. Like, we want that energy. We want to be a part of that too. It's very special.
As we wind up our interview, I thank you so much for this time. I think when you find those people, you should build a theater troupe for your next movie, because everybody can rejoin you. I just think that's the way it used to be in the 16th century, where they just use the same people over and over.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're working on an animated film called Eggbots.
Eggbots, yes. It is my first time directing an animated series, and I can tell you that it is a very different process. I've learned so much about the animation process, but just about myself as a director too within that process. And it's a kids show, so it's a very different tonally from Fox Hunt Drive, and there's something just fun about working on something that's like that. You look at it and you that child inside of you kind of comes out and says like this is going to be cool. Like, kids are going to watch this and get excited, and that it makes you happy.
I was happy when I read that in your profile, because I come from the world of animation. My aunt was June Foray, the voice of Rocky the Flying Squirrel, and Natasha. And so I grew up with Chuck Jones and Paul Frees and Dawes Butler and Mel Blanc. And I have a love for animation that stems from my childhood.
Yeah.
Lizzie, do you do voice acting? Have you done voice acting?
I have done a little bit in the past, but that's funny that you asked that, because I was just working on some for a class this week, and I'm getting a voiceover set up next week.
Wow. Well, I hear there's a new film coming called Eggbots that you might want to try out for. You may know the director. Anyway, you guys are absolutely a lot of fun, and I would love to talk to you about the next project. So again, thank you guys so much. It is Fox Hunt Drive, and it is one of those wonderful, I want to say it's film noir, a modern film noir, but it really
People-
does capture you.
People have been saying that. But thank you so much, Tony, for your time. It was such a pleasure to meet you.
Yes.
It was wonderful being here. Thank you.
I'm Annette Civarella with Pia Anderson Moss Hoyt, Utah's leading entertainment law firm, serving clients nationwide. We provide solid, attentive representation focusing on minimizing risk, reducing cost, and protecting the reputation and privacy of our clients. Our goal is to provide you with the legal representation you need to make the right decisions and to protect you and your creative works. Call or email me for a free consultation.